Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, July 1st edition, the Canada Day edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. Going to be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. As mentioned off the top, happy Canada Day to all the Canadians that are watching, everyone who's celebrating. A couple days, it'll be 4th of July for the Americans, so it's a big week for everyone. So, again, happy Canada Day, guys. I hope you guys have the day off. I don't, though. I will take the afternoon off, but right now I got some work to do, including this podcast. But you guys know I love doing it, so I can't wait to talk about the world of MMA. First and foremost, guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Follow this podcast at MMAOddsmaker.com and on our YouTube channel, please. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate that, guys. Also, check me out at sherdog.com, bjpenn.com, MMAnews.com, and MMARings.net. So, we're going to talk about UFC Minneapolis, aka UFC on ESPN 3 today. Man, great card. A lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. Main event of the evening, guys. You guys saw it. Francis Ngannou brutally knocks out Junior Dos Santos. Only needed 71 seconds to do it. By the way, I did the play-by-play for Sherdog, including scoring, so go and check that out. If you missed the card, you can pretty much recap everything that happened there. Man, great performance by Francis Ngannou. The guy looks like an absolute destroyer of the worlds right now. He's an absolute monster. 14-3 record now. He's 9-3 in the UFC. All 9 UFC wins by stoppage, either knockout or submission. 8 knockouts, 1 submission. He looks amazing. This is the guy that we all thought was going to be a title contender when he knocked out Overeem and Arlovsky and a couple other guys. And then he had the back-to-back losses to Stipe and to Derek Lewis. And people were sour on him, but he's bounced back incredibly well. 3 straight first-round knockouts over Curtis Blades, Cain Velasquez, and Junior Dos Santos. That's absolutely insane. The guy looks amazing right now. After the fight, he told Dana White he wants a title shot, and apparently Dana White is non-committal to this. According to Dana White, he has to see what happens with Daniel Cormier first. He wants to see what happens with the rematch with Stipe, if DC retires or not, if DC wants to even fight Ngannou, if John Jones wants to move up to heavyweight. There's a lot of moving parts right now, so we won't get an answer, but the guy deserves a title shot. There's no doubt about it. I don't care who the champion is. I want to see Ngannou fight for the belt. I think right now he probably is the best heavyweight in the world, but we have to wait and see what happens in that fight with Stipe and DC. If Stipe wins, maybe DC will want a trilogy fight. If DC wins, I can't see him wanting to fight Ngannou. So to me, I don't see that fight happening. Although I do think DC versus Ngannou is a really, really intriguing fight. I just can't see that happening. I think more likely is that, DC would fight John Jones maybe and then call it a career, or DC would vacate the belt, move back to 205, fight John Jones there. I just can't see him fighting Francis at heavyweight. I don't know. We'll see. But to me, that would be a massive size disadvantage for DC. Not something he hasn't overcome before, but this is different. Francis Ngannou has this special KO power that you can't teach. This guy is an absolute monster. The way he's beaten, like I said, Blades, Velasquez, and JDS now, 3 of the best heavyweights in the world, and he's beat them in under 3 minutes combined. That's insane. So the guy's just a special talent. Amazing knockout. If it's me, I'm giving him the next title shot, regardless of who wins that fight, regardless of who's holding the belt. He deserves that title shot. This guy could be a massive star for the UFC. I think he already is a big star, and now he's really starting to put it together. I know that he's had some run-ins with Dana White, and I think that's playing into this a bit, because there's no doubt in my mind he deserves a title shot. For JDS, disappointing loss for sure. I mean, he was coming off a 3-fight win streak. He was looking really good. Goes in there and gets KO'd in 71 seconds. And it looked like he kind of wanted out of the fight. I can't blame him, though. I mean, that's a guy you don't want to go into the cage with Ngannou. So, JDS is still a great fighter, but I think at this point he's kind of more of a gatekeeper. He's not really a legitimate contender anymore, which, that's still okay. They need top-level gatekeepers in the UFC. I think he's about in that Overeem territory where he's not a top guy anymore, but just a little bit under and a bit above the lower rank guys in that division. We saw what happened to Derek Lewis in the last fight where JDS knocked him out and Tad Tavesa as well. So he can beat those kind of guys, but the guys like Ngannou, Stipe, I guess he's beat him in the past, but not now. I wouldn't pick him there. Or DC. Those are the guys that I think JDS would lose to. So he's there's the top tier guys, and then there's JDS and guys like Overeem, and then there's the up and coming guys like Tubesa, I guess, and Blagojev, guys like that. So he's right in that middle spot in the top. He's still in the top 10, but I don't see his days as a contender being there anymore. Great career for JDS. He'll be a Hall of Famer one day, but this knockout really did show me that his game is on the decline. But still, it's a tough matchup against Francis Ngannou. I think he knocks out most guys in that division. Amazing performance by Ngannou. I was blown away by it. I've been blown away by his last few performances. And I think a lot of us have just completely forgotten about those fights with Derek Lewis and Stipe. That seems like it happened so long ago now. Co-main event of the evening, another great knockout here. Joseph Benavidez knocks out Jussier Formiga in the second round with punches and a head kick actually to set it up. Amazing performance by Joseph Benavidez. Second win over Formiga, both by knockout. I was shocked by how close this betting line was, by the way. Joseph Benavidez closed at -125. To me, that's just crazy. I don't understand that at all. I don't know why so many people are betting on Formiga. It doesn't make sense to me. We've already seen this fight, and not only that, but I think Benavidez, besides Demetrius Johnson, he's been the second best flyweight in the world since like the inception of the division in the UFC. So, and since 2011, when the division came out, 2012, I should say, running on 8 years now. So the guy's incredible, man. His record in the UFC is fantastic. He's actually won, He's won 9 of his last 10 fights now. And overall, in the UFC, he is 15-3. That's amazing. What a great record this guy has. Amazing fighter. Again, same situation as Francis. He wants a title shot. He deserves it against Henry Cejudo, a man he's beaten before, by the way. And Dana White says, I'm not sure. So that's a little different to me because Henry does hold two belts. He holds the flyweight belt and the bantamweight belt. The UFC might think that the bantamweight fights are bigger money fights for Henry. So a fight against Sterling, whoever else in that division right now, I think Sterling's probably the number one guy there. To me, I don't know. Sterling's great. Don't get me wrong. He deserves a title shot at 135. Or Peter Yan, I should say. That's the other guy. But is he really a draw? I don't know. I'm not saying Benavidez is either. But at least with Benavidez, you have the fact that it's a rematch. You could sell that. You have the fact that it's this guy that's been clawing his way back to a title shot for years. Now that Demetrius Johnson's gone, he might get another one. There's a lot of storylines there. I don't know what's going to happen with Joseph Benavidez in the flyweight title shot. It's still possible the UFC could dissolve that division. I hope not. But come on, this guy deserves it. He really deserves a chance to fight for the title again. And a fight with Cejudo, to me, is very, very intriguing, a rematch. The first time, like I said, Benavidez won. Odds are Cejudo will probably win this time, just based on the way we've looked at him. But who knows? Maybe Benavidez matches up really well with him, like we saw in the first fight. We'll see what happens. If they do a rematch, I'm 100% convinced they will. I feel bad for Benavidez if they don't. He deserves it, but we'll see what happens. Either way, fantastic knockover for Formiga, who lost his 4-fight win streak. And now he might lose his job. It's possible they could cut him. I hope not. This guy clearly is one of the best in the world. But we all know what they're doing with flyweights coming off losses. They've cut almost all of them. So, as great as Formiga is, he might get released. And if he does, there'll be plenty of opportunities for him to fight around the world, including in places like Rising, One, etc. Maybe the UFC keeps him around. I hope they do keep him around for another fight. But we know that they cut almost all the flyweights coming off of losses. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, Demian Maia defeats Anthony Rockmartin by majority decision, 29-28, 29-28, 28-28. So one of the judges scored the third round of that fight, 10-8, and had a draw. I personally had for Maia the first 2 rounds, and then Martin, I gave him the third round. But I did pick Martin in this fight. Not a great pick in hindsight, but you know what? He came on strong in the end. And if the fight was 5 rounds, I think Martin would have won. It wasn't those 3 rounds. And Maia won. So good for Maia. I think he did like the bare minimum in this fight, though. He did get the win. He keeps getting more wins, and he's just increasing his legacy in the sport and his legacy as a future UFC Hall of Famer. But it wasn't his most impressive performance. The fight against Lyman Good was much more impressive. Listen, Maia looked good in the first 2 rounds, but that third round, he was basically running away the whole time. He knew he had 2 rounds in the bag and just didn't want to engage. Didn't like to see that too much from Maia. I respect the guy a lot, but that's not the way he should be fighting. And then Rockmartin, hey, if another judge scored that a draw, you would have had a draw. They didn't, though. One judge had a draw, but 2 other ones had the win for Maia. So good for Maia. Snapped Anthony Rockmartin's 4-fight win streak. I think he's still pretty good, though, at welterweight. He deserved this opportunity to fight a top guy like Maia, but Maia is just proving himself at this point just to be a top-level gatekeeper. Again, he's like JDS now. He's not a top contender anymore, but he's still a great gatekeeper in this division at 170. Don't know what's next for him, but any of those up-and-coming guys like Jeff Neal, Vicente Luque, those are the kind of guys that Maia is going to be fighting these days, just because that's his role in the UFC right now, to be a high-level gatekeeper, to see if guys like Anthony Rockmartin and Lyman Good are ready for that step up to the top 10. And so far, they've proven that they haven't been. So Maia's still getting the job done. He's an older guy, he's 41, but he's still getting the job done. I would just like to see him be a little bit more aggressive because the third round of this fight was not really fun to watch. Next up, Vince Pichel pulls off the biggest upset of the night, beating Roosevelt Roberts by unanimous decision. Really solid performance here by Vince Pichel. Very veteran-like, workman-like performance here, getting the job done basically with this wrestling. Roberts won the first round and then kind of tired out. It was kind of disappointing to see him just kind of gas for a lightweight. Very disappointing. Pichel really pushed the pace, took Roberts down, beat him up on the ground, held him against the cage, did what he had to do to control the fight and win the decision. So good for Vince Pichel. He closed at plus 205, biggest underdog. Only 2 dogs on the whole card cashed. I figured to be a night of favorites, but yes, Vince Pichel was one of the dogs, and I didn't really see that coming. I thought Roberts would win this fight. I was very impressed with his performances prior to this, but I guess looking back, maybe that fight with Thomas Gifford where he couldn't finish a guy like Thomas Gifford kind of showed that he does have some holes in his game, and clearly in this fight, he did show he has a lot of holes with his defensive wrestling, so he's got to work on that. He's only 25 years old. I like Roosevelt Roberts, but definitely has a lot of work to do to pick himself up after losing to a guy like Vince Pichel. An older guy is 36, so he lost to a guy 11 years older than him. In that stacked lightweight division, you really can't lose fights and remain a contender. So Robert's got a lot of work to do. He's probably going to need to get at least 3 or 4 wins to get a top 15 opponent if he wants that. Had he beaten Pichel, he probably would have got that next, but not now. And good for Pichel, man. I mean, this guy's been around for a long time now and continues to win fights, so impressive performance by him. Next up, another great performance here. Drew Dober knocks out Paulo Reyes in the first round, 1 minute and 7 seconds into the first round. You could have given him a bonus performance of the night. By the way, JDS and Benavidez won, and there's 2 other guys that won, and I'll talk about that. No fight of the night, 4 performance of the nights. I would have been okay with Dober winning one. I mean, he looked great in this fight. Fantastic performance. The guy's showing some good knockout power lately. 3 of his last 5 wins are by KO, so definitely he's got improvement in his hands and his power. But to be fair, Paulo Reyes doesn't have much of a chain. The guy's been knocked out 4 times now in 14 fights. He's been knocked out 3 times in the UFC alone. 3 of his last 4 fights have ended in knockout against him, and the 1 win was a knockout against Matt Fravel, which was a great performance. But you know, I enjoy watching this guy fight. He's 4-3 in the UFC. He might get another shot because he puts on good fights, but his chin just isn't good enough for this division against heavy hitters. Guys like Dober who aren't known for the KO power, but can touch him on the chin. They're going to put him out. So Paulo Reyes, 34 years old. Maybe, like I said, maybe they keep him around for one more fight because he does put on good fights for the most part, exciting fights. But his chin is it's really it's not that great. And then Dober, it's only 30 years old, and to me, he's getting better, which is good sign to see. I mean, this guy has been around quite a long time. He was on The Ultimate Fighter live. He didn't make the show. He lost to Darren Cruikshank in the elimination round. But he's put together a great career since then, came back, and then has just looked great. So good for Drew Dober, and this was a really, really solid performance for him. Next up, another performance of the night winner. Alonzo Menifield continues his reign of terror with a knockout win over Paul Craig. First round KO, brutal ground and pound. Amazing win by Alonzo Menifield. I love this guy. 9-0 now, all wins by stoppage. The guy's a beast. You talk about, like I said, I wrote about this on Twitter. I've talked about it in my articles. I've talked about it on this podcast. You talk about the next wave of 205ers. You talk about guys like Rakic. You talk about guys like Johnny Walker. You have to keep Alonzo Menifield in that discussion. He is 31. He's not young by any means, but he's still very young in the sport. He's still learning. He's still growing. I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he can go really far in the sport, and I'm very curious to see how he does when he matches up against a top 10 guy because he deserves that. After beating Paul Craig, Paul Craig's a gatekeeper, but still, that's a good win for him. It was a great knockout. Nothing but impressed by Alonzo Menifield. The guy's just a very, very, very solid fighter and very deserving on this bonus. And, you know, I'm not saying he's going to be a champion one day. I mean, I don't see anyone beating John Jones, to be honest with you, but if John Jones does retire or moves up or whatever, who knows what's going to happen in that division? It could go in flux. There's a lot of open spots now with guys like Gustafsson and Rumble gone, with DC moving up. There's a lot of just opportunity at 205 now for these younger up-and-coming guys. Even a guy like Menifield, again, 31, but still, compared to a lot of the other guys in the division, he is a younger guy. So we'll see what happens for him next. But I think he can go very far with that KO power. With that, he's just a physical specimen. The guy's a beast. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him. For Paul Craig, another KO loss. I mean, I don't know what to say about Paul Craig. He's pulled off a couple good wins in the last minute of fights, but overall, I just don't believe in Paul Craig. Next up, that was the main card. And by the way, a very, very solid main card. I think for the most part, I mean, that helped, or that was a very exciting night for a lot of people. And for me personally, it helped me out, I was going to say, because I did the play-by-play. I love those quick knockouts. Man, the fights go by so quick. It's those 5-round fights where nothing's happening. Those are the ones that are tough. Like Kamaru Usman when he fought, what was it, against RDA? I mean, just pressing against the cage. Those are the tough ones to call. But fights like for Ngannou and JDS and Formiga and Benavidez, I love doing play-by-play for those ones, man. Nice, quick, easy fights and exciting to write about. Anyways, preliminary card. Let's get right through it. The main event of the prelims, Ricardo Ramos beats Jordan Newsom by unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Pretty good performance here by Ramos. He threw some nice spinning back elbows, which he's kind of becoming known for. He's only 23 years old. He's a young guy, 4-1 now in the UFC. Jordan Newsom, though, I mean, to me, he's not really UFC caliber fighter. He'll get another fight in the UFC, but I really wasn't that impressed here. To be fair to the guy, of course, he took it on very short notice. He fought a guy who's a lot more experienced in the UFC, just a lot more talented, to be honest with you. So he'll get another fight, but this was mostly a blowout, and no surprise that Ricardo Ramos won. Another performance of the night winning bonus went to Eryk Anders for his brutal knockout over Vinicius Moreira. Great knockout by Eryk Anders. First off, what was the referee thinking here? I mean, Moreira was already knocked out. The guy was staring right out, and he's knocked out cold. His eyes were rolled back, and the referee's just letting him take unnecessary shots. So the referees on this card were very, very weird. By the way, I haven't heard of these guys like Travis Meter, Vance Swerdian. They did have Jason Herzog and Herb Dean, who were two of the best guys, but you had guys like Vance Swerdian and Travis Meter, and some of their fights were just – I was watching their performances too, not that great. And Vance Swerdian was the ref for this one. Man, this guy let this fight go on way too long. So I had to mention that. But amazing win by Eryk Anders. I don't think anyone's surprised here. Eryk Anders is a monster. Yeah, he was coming off 3 straight losses, but you know what? I think this guy, he's still putting it together. He's still young in this sport. So he's 32. He's kind of like Menifield. He's not young for that division, but compared to the rest of the 205ers, he is kind of young. And he has a lot of experience now in the UFC. He's 4-4 now in the UFC. He's been fighting the Octagon for just under 2 years now. Made his debut in 2017, July 22nd, 2017. He's put together a decent career in the Octagon. I was very impressed by his performance. I mean, listen, Moreira is not a UFC caliber fighter. His chin is just not that good. He's going to be cut after this fight for sure. But the way that Eryk Anders went in there and handled his business, I like the way he fought. He was very aggressive in this fight, pushed forward. Great performance by him, and this is the kind of Eryk Anders that I think we all wanted to see, and the kind of guy that really should have been the guy that was fighting against Elias Theodore when he lost that split, and even Khalil Roundtree. I mean, that was a beatdown by Roundtree. Roundtree looked amazing in that fight, but Eryk Anders was basically on the defensive that whole fight. I like when he's the aggressor. When he's the aggressor, he's a very talented fighter. Next up, Jared Gordon beats Dan Moret, unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Another workman-like performance here by Jared Gordon, grinds out the win. For Dan Moret, you know what? Kind of disappointing because he had a lot of really dominant positions in this fight and just chose to go on the ground and go on his back on the ground, which you never do at this level of the sport against a guy like Gordon who can wrestle. It just doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, you're going for guillotines and stuff like that, but these are, especially against a guy like Gordon, it's a kind of low percentage submission attempts, and you're putting yourself in a bad spot. That's basically what happened. Moret had good chances to win this fight, and they would constantly go on his back and fight off his back, go for arm bars. Again, it's not really going to work at this level of the sport. So that's 0-3 now for Moret. I think he's going to be cut. And for Gordon, snaps his 2-fight losing streak. He really needed that. He's 3-2 now in the UFC. Not his best performance by easily, but definitely the win that he needed to keep his job in the UFC. Next up, Dalsha Lungiambula beats Daquan Townsend by third-round TKO punches and elbows. This was a weird fight. So first 2 rounds was basically Dalsha just holding Townsend on the ground. And this is why I brought up referee Travis Meter earlier. This guy just stood there watching Dalsha just kind of hold it. He wasn't doing any damage, wasn't advancing position, and the referee just staying there. And then he finally broke it up at with 10 seconds left. It made no sense. Very, very strange reffing in this fight. Either way, Dalsha won the first 2 rounds, and then the third round came out explosive and knocked Townsend to the ground and knocked him out with elbows and punches on the ground. Just nasty, nasty elbows like this raining down on Townsend's face. A very solid win for this guy in his debut for sure. You needed that finish. You don't see third-round finishes very often in heavyweight, so this was very impressive that he did that. But, to be fair, Townsend took the fight on 3 days' notice. That guy's got a very crazy story, by the way. I think his son passed away, so it's really sad. I didn't really know about that. You know what? I would hope the UFC gives him one more fight. It was a bad performance by him for sure, but he took it on such short notice, up a weight class. I hope they give him one more fight. Maybe there's some potential here with downside because he's a pretty strong guy with some good striking. But for now, Dalcha is the guy that we're watching out for. The champion, they call him. Another African fighter that, you know, could make waves. I'm really looking forward to the UFC doing an Africa card. I think that's going to be absolute madness. Can't wait for them to do it. They haven't made any plans. They haven't made any announcements. But with all these fighters like Ngannou, Usman, Luki Mambula, they got to do that card in Africa. I don't know when it's going to happen, but there's too much talent now to ignore. Next up, another great performance here. Amanda Ribas beats Emily Whitmire, second round submission. Amanda Ribas making her UFC debut. Great performance here. Just controlled Emily Whitmire on the ground and then finally got the submission in the second round. After 3 years away, she hasn't fought since 2016, to go in there and beat someone like Whitmire, who's on a nice roll lately, that's impressive. So very impressed by Amanda Ribas, only 25 years old. Maybe there's something here. You know, I kind of, I guess, looked her over here just because of the layoff and because Whitmire's been fighting so good lately, but clearly Ribas is very good. So great win for her. And I'm curious to see what's next for her. I think she can actually go pretty far in what's kind of a shallow division at 115. And finally, opening up the prelims, another great knockout here. Maurice Greene brutally knocks out Junior Albini in the first round. Great win for Mo Greene. I mean, this guy, the crochet boss, this guy's a beast. I like watching him fight as well. 3-0 now in the UFC. 3 straight wins. Michelle Batista, Jeff Hughes, Junior Albini. I like this guy, man. He's good. He's got really good striking. And then he goes and beats Junior Albini. Junior Albini's going to be cut. He's 1-4 now in the UFC. 4 straight losses. Last 3 losses by stoppage. The guy is just a gatekeeper. You know, again, didn't understand the matchmaking. He didn't understand the line here with the odds having basically Greene as a pick'em. Really weird. You thought Greene would have been a huge favorite. I don't get it. Who was betting on Junior Albini? That one was very strange to me as well. Don't know who was putting money on this guy. He's not great. But yeah, great win for Maurice Greene. Guy looked awesome. Very impressive performance. So overall, very good card. I'd give it like, you know, an 8.5 out of 10 probably. A lot of quick knockouts, which you always like to see, and some good fights. The ones that did go distance were decent. So very solid card. I was very happy with it as someone who was covering it, as a fan of the sport. It was fun to watch. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the card as well. I think that's all I want to talk about today, guys. That was pretty much the news of the weekend. I guess the only other thing that I want to mention quickly was Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz, according to Gilbert Melendez, is back in training. So this is something to kind of keep your eye out for in the future. We've seen Nick Diaz do this song and dance before. He never ends up fighting. He hasn't fought since 2015. But I think there's a chance that we could see Nick Diaz fight at some point. He was supposed to fight Jorge Masvidal. That fight didn't end up happening back at UFC 235, but maybe it's going to happen now. So who knows? But yeah, Nick Diaz is, you know, he's still one of the most popular guys in the sport. If Gilbert says he's training again, maybe he is, and maybe he is training for a fight. So we'll see what happens there. And then Colby Covington went and called him out. So it's kind of funny. But anyways, that's it, guys, for today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com and on our YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check me out at SureDog.com. I'll have my Beating the Books and Insane Props coming out today. MMARings.net. I sent one in on Francis Ngannou and more arguments of why you should get a title shot. BJPen.com will have some stuff there, and then MMAnews.com. I'm having my matchmaker articles. Definitely check that out. We're past UFC Minneapolis. We're done with June. We're in July now, guys. This weekend, UFC 239. I cannot wait for this card. Wednesday, I'll be doing the podcast with Cole Shelton, breaking down UFC 239. Can't wait to preview that card. But until then, guys, I'll be back with you guys tomorrow, talking about any of the news in the world of MMA. Until then, have a great day. Enjoy your Canada Day if you are celebrating. If not, enjoy your day either way. I'll talk to you guys later. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon.